thought I was just gonna pop on up. Thought I'd mix everything up a little bit on you, Muse. Ah, yeah. Taste the sweetness. Muse, I have something to talk about. You're used to that, of course. This time, I want to talk about something that has been inspired. That inspired me as I was reading a book, because I like reading books. And at first, I was kind of hesitant to talk about this because it's someone else's story. But it is so apropos to the plight that so many artists have to deal with. And this particular person was so wonderfully transparent and honest in the sharing of their experience that I felt it worth relating to. Now, this is going to date me a little bit, but I'm a big fan of Gary Numan. Most of you probably know Gary Numan from the song Cars. It's a great song. And I remember when I was a little kid back in the 80s, riding my BMX bike and hearing that song in my head. It was literally the soundtrack to my youth. I loved that song. And as an adult, I came to appreciate much of his other work, and then discover his new work to find even more to love about the man. His music is fantastic. I can't say enough about it. Now, of course, when you think of artists on that level, and yes, Gary Numan is on that level. Whether he wants to admit it or not, he's on that level. When you think about artists on that level again, you automatically assume that they're rich as hell and that they've always been rich ever since they were discovered and that their life's really easy. I challenge you to read his autobiography called Revolution. It will change your mind. When Gary Numan first came into the world of music, everything just happened easily for him. He created these albums, wrote and recorded these songs, and everybody loved him. And it was almost that mythological overnight success. And he had wonderful parents that supported him and loved him. But then all of a sudden, things turned on him. The media turned on him. The sales didn't happen. And he spent a long period of time in his adult life unsure of his future and being in terrible debt. Even so, even when the odds fell against him, and even though everything in the world was telling him, maybe it's time for you to hang up your musician's hat, he persisted. And he struggled. And he fought through all of that to finally, 30 some years later, break through again. And there's a great, it's a very touching video you can watch. Search for it on YouTube. He's weeping because he heard that his album Savage hit #1 on the charts. I've seen it. It's touching, and it's you just want to reach out and hug him because you're like, Gary, you deserve this. You've earned this. and we've followed your struggle, and we're so happy for you. And as I read, I'm almost finished with the book. It's a fantastic look into his world. But as I'm reading this book, I'm thinking of my own life as an artist and how it parallels my life. And it probably parallels so many people out there. Let me give you an example related from my perspective. And I'm just going to talk about my writing career. We're going to set my acting career aside, even though there's a very similar parallel. When I was actually one of the first authors to submit something to Amazon. I submitted Shiro, although it wasn't the first book I wrote, it was the second book I wrote. I submitted Shiro when Amazon, it was called Amazon Desktop Publishing, I think, and it was in beta. And I submitted Shiro, and I'll never forget the day I hit publish on that. And I thought, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And it didn't happen. It did not happen. And I have learned a great number of lessons since then. But after that book, I kept, even though sales from that period were just, I mean, it was, they really didn't exist. I remember the first time I saw that somebody had purchased Shiro, and I thought I was going to come undone with joy that someone else was willing to invest in their mind, their time, and their money into something I created. Well, fast forward a few years after that, I had released I, Zombie I and a few other books. And out of nowhere, I'm paying my bills with the money from book sales, paying my mortgage with book sales, paying my electric bill with book sales. It was unbelievable to me. And I was overcome with joy. And then word caught on. And out of nowhere came hundreds of thousands of new authors from everywhere. From the woodwork, from the shadows, from the depths of the ocean, from the skies, from the trees, from the tunnels and the caves, from the sewers, from the cars, from the houses, from the RVs. They came from everywhere, and they flooded the market. Every genre became super saturated with books. And then, I was no longer paying my mortgage with book sales. I was struggling. I suffered the same thing that Gary Newman suffered. Not that I'm comparing myself to him, because he's on another level. But voila. That was it. And you just collectively, authors just felt the bottom fall out. And we didn't know what to do. And no matter what we did, it didn't work. Just like Gary Newman, who could not figure out for the life of him why the media had such a distaste for him and his music. Radios wouldn't play his music. No matter how brilliant it was, they wouldn't play it. So because of that, he had a hard time getting his music to the people. And in similar fashion, because there are so many writers and so many books, it's become impossible. We are all a single drop in an ocean now. And to get a reader out there to notice you, you can't just wave your hand and go, hey, hey, it's me. You've got to make serious noise. And even then, you're fighting thousands upon thousands upon thousands of authors who are making just as much, if not more, noise than you. And that struggle continues on to this day. I have 5 times the amount of books now than I had when I was paying my mortgage with book sales. And now I'm not. That's a testament as to how oversaturated the market is, because the quality of my writing hasn't gone down. You can ask any editor that's worked on my books. And the same thing holds true with my fellow writers. We're all getting better at what we do. We're all telling better stories in better ways. We're just drowning in a sea of other authors. Now, the reason why I want to tell this story and impart this information to you is that, first and foremost, to let you know that it happens to everyone, that you're not alone. And it's not just us. It's not just us writers. It's also musicians and actors and directors and screenwriters, dancers, everyone, artists everywhere are facing this level of obfuscation from any semblance of notoriety. We can't be seen because there's a massive crowd around us. And no matter how high you jump in the air and wave your hand, it's still hard to be seen. But the point is, just like Gary Newman fought and struggled and persisted and did everything he could to improve what he created, but how he created it, in the end, he succeeded. And in the end, I am happy to say that, Gary, I was with you all along. And I am so happy for his success. And that's a big part of it as artists. We have to be happy for each other's success. I know a lot of artists out there who get very jealous and stab each other in the backs because they don't want other artists to be successful. I do. I want every artist. I would be happy if every artist out there enjoyed a great amount of success for the rest of their lives. Will that happen? Probably not. But the truth is that you are going to go through those periods. You are going to struggle. And it's important to fight through it, to know that no matter how bad the struggle is, there is a light at the end of that tunnel, to be cliche. And it will get better as long as you continue working, continue improving, and continue having faith in yourself. It's hard. It is oh so hard. But it's possible. And I hope, just like with Gary Newman, that those of you out there who are struggling to be seen by even a single consumer, for lack of a better word, I hope that you understand that the struggle is worth it and that in the end you will prevail. Especially if you have a muse like mine who gives you some incredible ideas. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, that's all I got. I just wanted to relate that little bit of storage to you. Not storage, storage. Whatever. Anyway, thank you for listening, and thank you, Muse, for always being awesome.